The Arizona State Legislature is a really powerful entity, and honestly, I had little to no knowledge of what it did, what it was when I started as an intern. And I think that's a pretty common occurrence that we're seeing in voters, whether it's on the phones, at the doors. People don't have a ton of knowledge on these down ballot races. And I think that was something that really made my time as an intern in LD4 so memorable and just so empowering, was because there was so much potential for change in growth and knowledge, not only within myself, but I had the opportunity to do that within my community as well.
Was making calls for Obama, and somebody said to me, have you ever thought about your legislative district? And I had to look up what my legislative district was. But what I realized at that point was how much impact state legislatures have on our daily lives. In fact, the laws that they legislate impact us on a daily basis. And as the trend became more influence devolving to the states, then the role of the state legislature became even more important.
A lot of times people get involved because they're upset about something nationally, and then they realize, oh, look at what all that happens at the local level, and that it happens more that way, that they get involved locally because of something different.
I think the state legislature has more of an impact on everyday citizens' everyday lives than most people realize. I mean, the legislature has its thumb on pretty much everything that any person in Arizona experiences, from, potholes, which is actually a city issue. However, the funding often comes from the state level. I mean, just, and I wish more people knew that, the importance of local politics, because that is indeed what is affecting their daily lives the most.
So once I found out how much the legislature really affects our lives on a daily basis, I really wanted to, try and make a difference there and try and affect the outcomes. I did not agree with what our legislature was doing. This was, several years ago, 10 years ago, and I still don't.
Well, and we see what's going on in the legislature right now. It's just crazy, Some of the bills that they're introducing and the disrespect for values and beliefs that we hold dearly, it's really troublesome, because I thought when the Democrats and the Republicans in the House and in the Senate, when the numbers were very close, that would create more bipartisanship. And in fact, what's happened is it's made it worse.
And they don't seem to reflect the values of our community. They don't seem to reflect the problems in our community. We have constantly, everyone, that's how life goes. You have problems and you try to solve them. And I feel like at the state legislature, they don't try to solve the problems that we actually have.
I think the Republicans have held the majority for 60 years? I think that was something that really resonated and motivated me, because, there was this potential for change that hadn't happened in a really long time.
One of the main reasons I decided to run was because it was the closest we had ever been to having a majority. So we were only one seat away on each side of the legislature to having a tie. And so we had never been closer. We had been working towards that for many years and decades.
I think we all really thought that there was this path. This year we were so close. We were one seat away in the House, and we were one seat away in the Senate. And we just felt like when we can convey our ideas and our solutions, it will matter to people, and they will pay attention, and they will, and we will get in there, and we will be able to, really affect this change and do something positive. So I know that we all really saw that and thought that was possible and worked as hard as we could.
One of the things I was excited about was if we were able to flip it, I was committed, and I'm still very much believe in that idea that good bills should see the light of day no matter who is sponsoring it, period.
There was very much the hope, because the numbers were so close, that for the first time there could be legislation, there could be bills turn into law that would really improve the lives of people.
It would be a game changer for the state of Arizona. Even for people on the other side of the political aisle, they just don't know it. So many good bills don't ever go anywhere because it's got the bill or bills have a D after the title.
If you look now at any of the Democrats' bills that they've provided, they're not being heard, and they're very reasonable, good ideas. But when only one group gets their opinions and their priorities listened to, you're leaving out like half of our population, because we're a pretty purple state.
And it's not good for a state. It's not good for a democracy. This legislature as time goes on, as they've keep control longer and longer, they're not forward thinking. They don't think about the future of our state. They don't think about our, what's going to happen next year, much less in 20 or 50 years. They really are only focused on, themselves and getting reelected and, the next, whatever's going to make them money or whatever they, however they base their decisions. I don't know, but.
Because it takes a lot of work to get a swing district to be successful and to change.
We are a competitive district, and so we often get some help from the state as a whole in order to get our candidates elected. They need a lot more money, they need a lot more exposure, a bigger campaign than some of the other districts. Most of the districts in the state are either very, very one direction or the other, very red or very blue. We are not. We are very, we're a little bit more Republican than Democratic, but we have a lot of Democratic supporters, even as independents.
Yeah, I think that's what sets us apart from other districts as well. And of course, being in a very extremely competitive district, most of our state is either the districts are either securely won by Democrats, or more of them even are securely won by Republicans. So,
Christine Marsh, I think she won by 200 votes, the first time she won. So it really, every single vote matters, and you learn that, when you're knocking on those doors and it's August and you're sweating and you've got like 5 more doors on your list and you just want to go home, but you finish it up anyway because you know that it can be that close.
I think that's really something that you have to keep in mind when you're working with a state legislature campaign. During my time as an intern, I felt like there was a prominent focus on the nature of the area that we were working in LD4. It's very competitive, very purple. And so how does that really translate to the campaign? Well, from my perspective, I think there's a lot of emphasis on grassroots outreach, whether it's knocking doors, mailing postcards, making phone calls. I feel like you really have to connect to the voters. It's a local race, and you really have to cater to the local community.
Well, campaigning for an office like a state legislative office is just really a lot of knocking doors, and it's a lot of going to events, trying to reach voters and just people in the community to understand, first of all, to understand what they're going through and what their lives are like, and so that you're able to talk about maybe problems that they're seeing. And then just understand, not only what they're going through, but to sort of visualize what they would like to see as solutions. And it's just trying to meet people and let them know that you care a lot about what happens in the community.
When I'm just knocking on doors, I can find the common ground. I can have real conversations, a miniature real relationship.
So one of the things that we focus on in this district has been door knocking, because we have a lot of people, a lot of volunteers who know our candidates very well. And I think that that's a really great endorsement. And I like talking to my neighbors who I talk to anyway and say, hey, have you ever heard about this candidate? I was with her this morning, and let me tell you what she wants to do in our community.
And then for the get out the vote, we were canvassing every day and getting lit out and asking and providing information to voters about where to go vote, what the timeline is, do they have any questions? And we were doing thousands of doors a day. So that was with the help of all the volunteers.
Something I found really empowering about the campaign was just the sheer dedication of everyone involved to these causes and these candidates. I mean, at any given time, you'd have 15, 20 interns like myself calling people, knocking doors, but at the same time, on a Saturday morning when you would show up to canvass, there would be sometimes 75, 100 people, volunteers there, just ready to knock doors, fight for the issues that they care about, and advocate for the candidates. And that was just something so motivating to see, especially as a first-time political volunteer.
Part of what makes a good candidate is someone that can bring in people who want them to succeed. They're a leader in our community. And I think that that having interns who I basically think of as young volunteers and volunteers be involved. If they weren't involved, we wouldn't have a campaign.
Not only is it, they're reaching out to voters, but it really keeps up the morale and the momentum and keeps everybody going. So it's really, really a group effort.
I mean, I couldn't imagine running for office. Let's skip the workload. Can't even imagine just on an emotional level running for office without that burst of energy that you get from the volunteers who show up, on a Saturday morning for a big canvass or for a phone banking afternoon or whatever it might be.
It's part of just the energy of the campaign that makes you keep going when it's hard. And it can be really hard. And, but then you walk into this room and people are so glad to be together, to be sharing the opportunity and to be sharing kind of the dream that we're all having. Not going to get choked up. But yeah, I mean, it's really real. You really feel it when you're with a big group of people who care a lot.
I think one of the things I love most is the intergenerational activity. So we hope we learn from one another. But the interns bring tremendous enthusiasm, energy, humor, creativity, along with a commitment and a really good knowledge of the issues.
I mean, I've been involved now for about a decade, and I've seen ups and downs, but I feel as though I've met so many wonderful people and so many people that want to connect and get involved and make their communities better. And I feel that absolutely motivates me to stay involved as well. And I feel very lucky as the chair of the district to be able to provide an outlet for people to make their communities better.
They had a huge impact in what we were able to do in LD4. And since this district was created, we've been really fortunate that we've had a lot of engagement, meaning they understand what their role is and the importance of working in their communities to help the local candidates.
So what is so addicting about working on a state campaign is that it's very easy to get in the thick of things. It's very easy to get in the trenches. It's very easy to get to know your candidates and to believe in them. And so then coming out every Saturday or making phone calls or getting kids involved, it all has tremendous meaning because you really believe in their values, in their character, in who they are. So it's not hard to be ambassadors for them.
For me as a candidate, it felt great that we were all doing this. We were all in this. I think as a volunteer, it makes you feel like, wow, we really have momentum. This is growing. People care and are responding to what we're talking about.
And when Election Day did roll around, I think there was a lot of promise for good results, for a positive outcome. And that was really the direct result of all the door knocking, outreach, grassroots campaigning that had been done in the months leading up to the election. But unfortunately, the voters just didn't really align with our ideas on the campaign this cycle. And, you see that happen from time to time. There was a red wave that kind of swept through the country and really hit our district, LD4, which I think was a significant contributor to the loss in this cycle.
I think for me, that was one of the disappointments of the election results too, that all of that work had gone into trying to help people know how to vote on some of these issues and the candidates, and it didn't help.
We decided that we wanted to mail out a slate card that we called the blue card that really gave them more information about voting because our ballot was 4 pages. We sent 40,000 of those out. So think about the cost to print those and the letters and getting them all stuffed. That was all volunteer effort.
After all that had gone into the campaign, whether it was phone banking, door knocking, house parties, the blue ballot, postcards, fundraising events, everything, it was kind of difficult to swallow the results. I mean, you spend so much time working on this campaign and you're so attached to it with everyone else, and a loss like that can be kind of earth-shattering.
I never thought that we would not re-elect Christine Marsh or elect Kelli Butler or be able to bring in Karen Gresham. I just thought we had the most wonderful candidates, tested, smart leaders, compassionate, experienced, and I thought to myself, no one worked harder than they.
It was kind of devastating, and I think that was felt across the board for a lot of the volunteers. It was very easy to kind of wallow in the frustration and resentment for the results, but at what point do you have to realize that you are the person to create the change? The difference isn't going to occur unless you make it happen, and so that's when you really have to start to regroup.
We're pretty matter of fact about it, and I think we all just kind of got up and dusted ourselves off and said, okay, we got to win in 2026.
As a legislative district, we're different than candidates, so this is our busy time. This is not the time to sit back and recharge necessarily. This is our planning and time and building time.
We have to figure out how to talk to people who don't think like us.
I think the range of things that people could be concerned about, I think you just really need to listen to what people are going through and, in their own neighborhoods and their own schools and communities. And so you learn a lot about things. I know what my experience is like, or my family or my friends, but I don't know enough about, what someone on another side of our district might be going through. So I think it's just a lot of just really innocently just knocking on doors and asking what do you think is something that could happen that would help you, and really trying to listen to those ideas.
I think there will be some of that change and that understanding in this cycle, right? I mean, people are going to take their disappointment, whether it was with the election, policies, the legislature, the national government, right? Any of this, they're going to take their frustration, they're going to turn it to the polls in November, and there's a really good potential for different outcomes.
And 2027 could be a really different year, and a better year for public schools, a better year for the planet, a better year for gun safety, some of those other issues that we didn't pay enough attention to.
So many important things that need to be taken care of, and which is another reason I ran, was because I thought of all the good things we could do for our state. And it's pretty chaotic right now, and so like I said, depends on the day, and some days I just want to go hide, and other days I'm ready to go and fight.
So if in answer to your question, what did I learn from this? I learned we need to do something different because this didn't work.
We need people, if we're going to create change and if we're going to improve things, we can't do things the same way. We need different people to be involved, I think, if we want to see different outcomes.
What motivates me is the importance of creating some level of bipartisanship, how good that would be for the state as a whole, how good it would be for everyday citizens, whether they realize it or not.
But I do think, there have been periods in history when, the outcome hasn't been what we wanted, and so we have to, regroup.
It was a bad year. It was a bad year for Democrats, that's all, so we move on, we move on, yeah.
I always wanted to do as much as I can, so I never regretted it, after the election. And while we didn't get the results we wanted for every race, it's important to still stay involved because democracy is fragile. And if we don't, who will?
And I think we're all here to try to improve the lives of people. Right? What are we doing here if we're not trying to help somebody, right?
No, I just think this is one of the few legislative districts that has the benefit and the privilege of having interns, and I think it's a great opportunity to kind of build our next generation that's going to come in and take over from us when we can't do it anymore.
But I ultimately want a future that is better for my grandkids. You know, I've got 3 grandkids here in Arizona, in Phoenix.
And it's great to get new people like you and the other interns involved, because that's I'm gonna get emotional. That's really what keeps us going. So that's what we're doing it for, is the next generations. So.